Good morning, friends, and welcome to Take Two for this Tuesday, the 7th of August, 2018. I'm Jeannie. I'm so glad to be with you today. Well, I'm going to keep it short and to the point today. I have something I'd like to share that's deep from my heart, and that's the fact that nobody's perfect. Now, I know that you can look into the eyes of your child, or you can look into maybe the heart of your spouse or your loved ones and say, oh, no, they're perfect. Well, they may be as close to perfect as you can imagine, but the truth of the matter is not everyone is perfect. Some of us are a little more perfect than others. Some of us have more challenges than others. You know, my sister has been working for many years with children with special needs and even some young adults, teenagers with special needs. Now, some of those needs might be emotional needs, but some of them might be something they were just born with, the way they were wired, and there's just nothing you could do about it except work with them so that they could be their personal best. Like, for example, she may have some that she's cared for and taken care of and taught and worked alongside that maybe have attention deficit disorder, or maybe they are autistic, or maybe they have a physical disability of some kind, and that causes them to be able to be slower than others, you know, in walking. Maybe they have to be wheeled in a wheelchair. Maybe they have good days and bad days. The fact of the matter is that some kind of accomplishment that we might do as more towards being healthy and whole and able-bodied might be no big deal. Like taking a few steps would be a great accomplishment for someone who has spent a big chunk of their life in a wheelchair, for example, or walking with canes, or walking with braces on their legs, or anything like that. Think about the first time your baby might have taken his or her first steps. Now, when Jimmy took his first steps, everybody was so excited, and they were all thrilled. He took a few steps, and wow, isn't that great? Now, you could be cynical and say, big deal. I watched an Olympic runner that gets up and runs every day for 10 miles. Well, that's not the same thing, because Jimmy, when he was a year old, that was his personal best, to take 2 steps. Yay, what a great accomplishment. Whereas that person who runs in the Olympics will be running like that because they've trained for years and years and years. See, there's some things that take a long time to get better at, and some things are just natural for some people. What about somebody who's never known how to cook? They're just not wired that they could grasp the whole concept of cooking. So for them to make a meal for 4 people and have a dinner party is a huge accomplishment, whereas somebody who cooks for a living could get up every day and say, I cook lunch for 200 people every day. What's the big deal? See, being your personal best and meeting people where they are in their level of perfection or their level of skill is the key. Don't judge, okay? Don't judge if somebody is doing something and you think that's no big accomplishment, because for them it might be. Think about the alcoholic who has been sober for a period of time and says, I haven't had a drink in 6 months. Well, for those of us who it doesn't matter whether he ever drank alcohol ever again or not, we'd say, so, big deal. But for that person who has that addictive personality and that challenge in his or her life, saying I haven't had a drink for 6 months is a huge accomplishment. I think probably one of the best examples of someone who was limited and took a whole basket of lemons that had been handed and turned it into lemonade would have to be my Nana Mustachio, my mother's mother. Now, she had a very, very severe case of diabetes that wasn't treated properly in her adult years, and because of it, she ended up losing a leg. She had to have her leg amputated above the knee, a major thing. She was in her 70s when she had this surgery done, and I remember my father saying to her in the hospital, to his mother-in-law, he said, Ma, I'll tell you right now, you get up and you get out of this bed and you get healed up and you do what you need to do. And I promise you, a year from right now, I'm going to take you to Italy to see your sisters and brother again, who you haven't seen in 50 plus years. My grandmother, Nana Mustachio, she was determined. She took this unfortunate situation. She stopped looking at her leg every 2 seconds and crying and saying, how did this happen? And she made the determination that she was going to go towards perfection and do her best. So she took that situation where she wasn't perfect anymore with 2 able-bodied legs, and she instead took her situation and turned it into something beautiful. And let me tell you something, that served as such a source of inspiration for me. That was back in the 1970s, early 70s. And even to this day, I was just a youngster then. We went on that trip to Italy with her a year later, and I watched her walking all over Italy with a prosthetic leg and with her walker. She was determined. So is anybody out there perfect? You know, none is perfect but God, the Bible says. None of us walking on this earth are perfect in any way. Like I said, we could look into the face of our babies and our loved ones and say, oh, they're as close to perfection as you could possibly get. My niece and my sister sent me some wonderful videos in the last few days of Thomas smiling and Jimmy kissing his baby brother. And to me, that is as close to perfection as you can possibly get as far as the love factor goes. But I'll tell you what, there are imperfections, because there's one video where Thomas is smiling and laughing and then all of a sudden goes, bleh, and throws up his formula, and you just go, that's exactly what it is, that we can be so perfect, and then all of a sudden a little thing like that happens. He is so near perfect to me, though. But I will say that it is important that in our striving to have perfection in our lives, one of the ways that we could do that is by going and being a blessing to somebody. You know, you might end up being the only one who is. So it's very important that you go to somebody and say, you know what? I am going to work towards being perfect, and I would like to, part of that working towards perfection is being a blessing to you, okay? And you encourage somebody that they could take those baskets of lemons that they get handed in this life, and they could make lemonade like Nana Mustachio did all those many, many years ago. And she went on for several more years to just act as if she had no disability whatsoever, and she was striving in her own way towards perfection. Okay, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jeanne Sigler, JeanneSigler. Click that subscribe button, and don't forget to listen to some what I consider near perfect music at WRMZ.org. And I'll tell you what would be really perfect in this day when you're tuning into Ram FM. Hit that donate button. That would be a perfectly wonderful thing to do. And you could do it for me for my birthday, which is tomorrow, okay? If you want to give me a special birthday present, make your tax-deductible gift donation to Ram FM at WRMZ.org and click that donate button. Okay, everybody, I hope you have a perfect, or at least near perfect day, okay? Go look into the face of somebody you love and tell them, you know what? You're as close to perfection as I could possibly imagine. I love you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.